My name is Riley Walker, and I did my project 2 on horse management. Nutritional needs vary amongst horses and is determined by age, weight, sex, and level of activity. Mature/older horses can survive on high quality forage alone, but working, growing, or breeding horses need supplemental grain. When you look at the diagram to the left, it talks about maintenance horses needing 1.5 to 2 pounds of feed per 100 pounds body weight. So if you think of 1,000 pound horse, then that would be 15 to 20 pounds of forage with 5 pounds of supplemental grain added. Then you think about their breeding horses, which would be your mare late gestation, mare early lactation. It talks about 10 to 15 or 10 to 20 pounds of forage, but then you add 5 to 10 pounds or 10 to 20 pounds of extra concentrate or supplemental grain needed to supply the proper nutrition to these horses. And then working horses, you provide 10 to 20 pounds of feed, and you'll need 7.5 to 15 pounds of concentrate added to supply the proper nutrition for working horses. Water, clean water, and trace mineralized salt water should be available regularly/freely for your horses on your pasture. They drink about 10 to 12 gallons a day. Concerns include poor performance, poor organ function, and colic. Those all occur if your horse is not getting enough water. To increase your horse's water intake, you can add electrolytes or flavoring to encourage your horse to drink more water. Proper fencing is also a necessity for your horses. Common fencing include rail, which would be wooden or PVC, galvanized, vinyl coated wire, electric, or a combination of these. When you come back to the rail fence, wooden or PVC, PVC is more expensive than wooden, but it looks better. And you can tell in the diagram, the picture, that's a PVC railed fencing, perimeter fence. It's very appealing. It's attractive. It is more expensive than the wooden version because it prevents, but it's also less labor intensive because you don't have to worry about wood rot or replacing a bunch of pipes or rails. The requirements of your perimeter fence should be durable. It should be very visible, attractive, like I said in the picture, safe from contact by the horse. So when your horse bumps into it, it's not going to hurt them. Unlike if you used barbed wire, it can cut them, cause wounds. Your fence also would want to be a minimum of 5 feet. Um, this is to deter your animal to think it can jump over the fence and escape. But it's also to steer away people from reaching over and petting your horses or feeding them. Pasture, a well-managed pasture provides a place for activity and rest, sufficient nutrients, and keeps costs low. If your pasture isn't well managed, you cannot put your horses on there out in pasture and expect them to get sufficient amount of nutrients. If you're a producer and you are using pasture as the source of feed, there are a little bit of requirements when it comes to terms with that. With mare and foal, you want your pasture to be 1.75 to 2 acres. When it's yearlings, you want your pasture to be 1.5 to 2 acres. When it's weanlings, you want it to be 0.5 or 1 acre of pasture. Pasture management, horses like to graze in one spot. Rotational grazing is recommended to minimize overgrazing and undergrazing. You limit the amount of time on pasture, and it improves the regeneration of pasture growth. So consider you have, as a producer, you want to maximize the amount of pasture you have. So you'll split your pasture up into paddocks, and you'll put your horses out on one paddock for 3 to 6 days, and then rotate it to another paddock, and then allow the previous one to regrow its legumes and grasses. Other ways to improve your pasture is clippings, dragging a chain linked harrow once a year, which gets rid of manure and spreads out all the intestinal parasites and stuff that can be infiltrated by manure, and applying fertilizer as needed. Hay, well-managed legume hay is higher in protein than straight grass. Cutting must be timed to improve protein levels and mineral levels. You don't want to cut too soon, but you also want to cut too late, because cutting too late can result in toxicities, and cutting too soon will result in under nutrients in the hay. Most hay can satisfy horses, but the only way to determine if your hay is providing the proper nutrients is to analyze your hay. And as a producer, you'll want to analyze your hay so you make sure you're getting the most for your money and you're not cutting too soon or cutting too late. Hay management. You want to select varieties, mixtures, and adaptive species of hay, and you want to fertilize annually. But to fertilize annually the proper way, you'll need a soil test. A soil test will allow you to understand the proper fertilization levels so you can get proper growth. And you're going to want to store your hay. You're going to want to store it dry. This is to prevent dust and mold. If your hay is at a 25% moisture, you can apply chemicals during the baling process that will still allow you to store your hay. And feeding the hay with chemicals on it is still okay as long as it doesn't have dust or mold. Other exercise is very important for your horses and your horse management. It's important to keep your horse conditioned. They are not machines, so they need to be out and exercise like us. They're not just going to can stay stout and healthy on their own. Grooming. Grooming can provide two things. It can provide removing excess dirt from your horse, and it allows you a time to thoroughly examine your animal for suspicious or foreign object or foreign things that can happen to your horse, such as wounds, bug bites, ticks, all sorts of things. The unusual, you're looking for the unusual. Waste removal, once a day to remove manure from your stalls and pasture. And vaccines. Horses are susceptible to a variety of diseases. So you're going to want to vaccinate, deworm, and care for the teeth and hooves of your horse to improve their overall well-being and health. And these are my citations. Thank you for listening.